The Business Book of Harvard, written by Benjamin White. Introduction. The illusion of a business. What is business? To some, it's nothing more than a way to make money. To others, it's a lifelong dream, a ticket out of struggle, a shot at freedom. And yet, for most people, the word business sparks fear more than excitement. Because behind the glossy images of billionaires in luxury cars and skyscrapers, there's another truth, a truth that few dare to talk about. Most businesses fail. Still, if you study the wealthy, if you look closely at those who have built empires and fortunes that last beyond generations, you'll see one thing they all have in common. Every billionaire, every self-made millionaire, every mogul you've ever heard of, owns or invests in high-quality businesses. Not jobs, not gigs, not temporary hustles. Businesses. And that is no accident. But here's where most people get trapped. They suffer from something called the illusion of owning a business. The moment they hear the word business, their mind immediately rushes to money. They imagine profits pouring in, customers lining up, and the glory of success. They imagine themselves rich, free, and admired. And that's when the danger begins. People rush in too quickly. They get excited. They jump without looking. They pour their savings into an idea they barely thought through. And within months, sometimes even weeks, it all comes crashing down. The shop closes, the website disappears, the dream dissolves, and what's left behind? Debt, regret, embarrassment. Another soul convinced that business is too risky and not worth it. And so most people walk away. They settle back into the comfort of a paycheck, even if that paycheck will never ever make them financially free. They convince themselves that the safe route, the job, the routine, the life of trading hours for money, is better than the unknown. But deep down, they know it isn't. Because here's the brutal truth. The greatest risk in life isn't starting a business and failing. The greatest risk is working every single day of your life, giving your time, your energy, your best years, for money that will never set you free. So ask yourself, what's more dangerous? To try and fail, or to never try at all? I can't promise you that by listening to this audiobook, you'll become a millionaire overnight. I can't promise you that after the final chapter, you'll have a flawless business idea ready to dominate the market. But I can promise you something far more valuable, a transformation in how you think. If you listen to these words every night before bed, your mind will begin to change. You'll start to notice things you once ignored. Business opportunities will appear where others see nothing. You'll begin to train your brain the way Harvard trains its students, to analyze, to question, to think like an entrepreneur, not just a worker. This book is not about filling out paperwork. It's not about how to register an LLC or what form to file at your local office. Anyone can look that up. That's surface level. This book goes deeper. It's about cultivating a mind prepared to see and build great businesses. Think about it. Why do so many people fail at business? It isn't because they didn't form an LLC properly. It isn't because they didn't have a business license on time. No, most fail because they never stop to ask the most important question: is this even a good business idea in the first place? They fall in love with action. They equate motion with progress. They think that starting fast is the same as starting smart. But action without direction is chaos. A boxer doesn't step into the ring without training. A footballer doesn't run onto the field without months of practice and strategy. So why do people think it makes sense to jump into business without training their minds first? A great boxer needs a great coach. Without one, his talent goes to waste. His moves are sloppy, his defense weak, his chances of winning slim. In the same way, an entrepreneur needs a coach for their mind, a guide who points out the traps, the blind spots, the hidden lessons. That's what this book will be for you. The Business Book of Harvard is your coach. But let me warn you, this isn't a soft coach. This isn't a book filled with motivational fluff and empty promises. This is a strict coach, one who demands discipline, thought, and honesty. At the end of this audiobook, you won't be left with vague inspiration. You'll be left with questions. Questions designed to test you, to evaluate whether you're truly ready to begin the journey. And your answers will reveal the truth. If you answer well, if you've truly absorbed the lessons within these pages, then I know your future holds something extraordinary. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not even next year. But eventually, if you commit, you will build a business that works, a business that sets you free, a business that can make you a millionaire, maybe even a billionaire. And one day, years from now, you'll look back on this book, not as just an audiobook you listened to once, but as the spark that changed your life, the seed that shifted your perspective, the voice that forced you to slow down, think sharper, and play the game smarter. You might even come back to thank this book. Perhaps you'll send a donation, not because you have to, but because you'll feel gratitude for the wealth it helped you see. That's the power of knowledge. That's the power of training your mind before you train your wallet. Now let me pull back the curtain just a little. Inside these chapters, we'll explore questions most people never ask. What makes a business idea great? Why do some businesses thrive while others crumble? We'll talk about the different levels of business, local, national, international, and how climbing these levels can make the difference between being comfortable and becoming a billionaire. We'll explore customers, not just as people who hand over money, but as relationships. But above all, this journey is about one thing: freedom. The freedom to live without chains. The freedom to wake up and decide what your day looks like. The freedom to know that your future isn't controlled by someone else's payroll, someone else's schedule, or someone else's rules. Business is not easy. It will test you, break you, and rebuild you. But if you endure, if you prepare your mind, if you train like the champions Harvard has trained for decades, you will discover that the world has always been full of opportunities. You just needed to learn how to see them. So I ask you, are you ready? Are you ready to look at the world differently? Are you ready to challenge everything you thought you knew about money, work, and success? Are you ready to let this book be your coach, your strict guide, your harsh teacher, and your greatest ally? Because once you begin, there is no going back. Welcome to the Business Book of Harvard. Your journey begins now. What is a successful business? Most people believe they already know the answer. They think, if I have a product to sell or a service to offer, then I have a business. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Just because something is called a business doesn't mean it's a successful one. That single misunderstanding is what breaks the hearts of millions of entrepreneurs every year. They open their doors, they launch their websites, they print their business cards, and they proudly tell the world, I have a business. But in reality, many don't. What they have is an idea dressed up as a business. They have an expense, not an asset, a dream, not a machine. So before we talk about growth strategies, profits, and expansion, we must start with something deeper: the difference between a business and a successful business. Because if you can't tell the difference, you risk living in an illusion, believing you're building an empire while in truth, you're digging your own grave. The true definition of a successful business. A successful business is not simply about selling something. It is not about being busy, about having a logo, or even about having customers. A successful business is one where: 1. Customers are genuinely happy with what you offer. They come back, they trust you, and they spread the word. 2. The business generates enough cash flow to cover expenses. You're not burning money, you're creating it. 3. There is surplus profit left over to reinvest to hire, expand, innovate, and grow. If any one of these three pieces is missing, your business is fragile. It may survive a little while, but storms will come: recessions, new competitors, shifting customer trends, and without these pillars, the business will collapse. Why most people fail. Most new entrepreneurs never stop to ask themselves, do I have a successful business or do I just have a business? They confuse activity with achievement. They confuse selling one product with building a system. They confuse passion with strategy. And this is why so many people burn out. They go in with excitement, but when the bills pile up, when customers don't return, when marketing feels like screaming into an empty void, they lose hope. They give up. But the truth is, it's not that they were weak. It's that they didn't understand the phases of business. And without that understanding, they mistook natural struggles for failure, when really they were just in an early stage. The 6 phases of a successful business. Every successful business, Amazon, Apple, Tesla, even the mom and pop store down your street went through these phases. You cannot skip them. You cannot cheat them. You can only understand them, prepare for them, and push through them. Let's walk through each one. 1. The planning ideation phase. This is where everything begins, with an idea. But don't fool yourself. An idea alone is worthless. If your business idea isn't strong, it's like building a castle on sand. The structure may look good for a while, but eventually it collapses. A poor idea drains your time, your money, and your energy until you're left bankrupt in more ways than one. That's why planning matters. In this phase, you don't just ask, "What product can I sell?" You ask deeper questions. Who will buy it? Why will they choose me over others? Logically, how big is the market? What problem am I really solving? Market research, competitor analysis, and a clear business plan are your compass here. Without them, you're lost at sea. Think of this phase as your blueprint. You wouldn't build a skyscraper without a solid design, so why would you build a business without one? 2. The startup or launch phase. This is the moment of truth. You stop planning and start building. The company is registered. The product or service is created. You step into the marketplace and say, "Here I am." This phase is messy, emotional, and risky. You're putting yourself out there, hoping the world responds. This is also the stage where most businesses die. Why? Because they underestimate one thing: attention. It doesn't matter how good your product is if nobody knows it exists. Marketing and advertising aren't optional here, they're oxygen. Without them, your business suffocates. The critical question in this phase is, how do I get eyeballs on my product or service? The answer often decides whether you sink or swim. 3. The growth phase. If you survive the startup storm, you enter growth. This is where the excitement truly begins. Your revenue climbs. Customers multiply. Word of mouth spreads. Competitors begin to notice you. But growth isn't just about selling more, it's about scaling wisely. You'll need to hire employees, streamline operations, reinvest profits into marketing, technology, or infrastructure. The challenge here is balance. Many entrepreneurs grow too fast, overhire or overspend, and collapse under their own weight. Others grow too slowly, failing to seize momentum and fade away. Growth is like fire. It can warm your house or burn it down. Handle it with care. 4. The establishment, expansion phase. At this stage, your business has stability. Revenue becomes predictable. Systems are in place. You're not fighting to survive. You're planning to expand. Expansion may mean adding new products, opening new locations, entering new markets, building partnerships. But here lies a new danger: complacency. Many entrepreneurs get comfortable, stop innovating, and think, "We've made it." That false sense of security blinds them to the fact that the market is always changing. 5. The maturity phase. This is the stage every entrepreneur dreams of. The brand is established, customers know and trust you, and profits are strong. But ironically, maturity can be the most dangerous stage of all. Growth slows, costs rise, competition intensifies. The challenge here is reinvention. You must fight to stay relevant. You must become obsessed with customer loyalty, cost efficiency, and brand strength. Mature businesses don't collapse overnight. They erode slowly, like a stone eaten away by water. If you don't innovate, one day you wake up and realize your empire has turned into dust. 6. The renewal, decline phase. Every business eventually faces this fork in the road: reinvent or decline. If you fail to adapt, your revenues plateau, your customers leave, and your brand fades. You become Blockbuster in the age of Netflix, Kodak in the age of digital cameras. But if you have the courage to reinvent, decline transforms into renewal. Netflix could have died with DVDs. Instead, it embraced streaming. Then it went further, creating original content and rewriting the rules of entertainment. Renewal requires boldness. It requires seeing change not as a threat, but as an opportunity. Few businesses manage it, but those that do live on for generations. Why these phases matter. Understanding these 6 phases isn't just theory, it's survival. When you know the phases, you stop panicking at normal struggles. If you're in startup and things feel chaotic, that doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're exactly where you're supposed to be. If you're in maturity and growth slows, that doesn't mean the end, it means it's time to innovate. Most people quit not because their business couldn't succeed, but because they misunderstood the journey. They thought chaos meant failure, when really chaos is just part of the process. The emotional side of business. Let's be honest, business isn't just strategy, numbers, and phases. It's also emotions. It's waking up at 3 a.m. worrying about payroll. It's the rush of your first sale, the sting of rejection when investors say no, the joy of seeing your logo on a storefront, the heartbreak of seeing your competitor outpace you. That's why understanding the phases matters so much. They don't just give you a roadmap, they give you emotional stability. They remind you, this storm is normal. Others have been here before. If I push through, there's another stage waiting for me. The big lesson. A successful business is not born, it is built. And it is built by people who understand that not all businesses are successful ones. Recognize the phases and prepare for them. Stay flexible, resilient, and willing to reinvent. Your journey will not be smooth. There will be nights of doubt, days of exhaustion, and moments of despair. But if you can hold on to the vision, adapt to the challenges, and keep pushing through each phase, you will not just build a business, you will build a successful one. And that is the difference between those who dream and those who change the world. Finding a successful business idea. Henry Ford once said, "Thinking is the hardest work there is," which is probably the reason so few engage in it. At first glance, that sounds harsh, but if you've ever tried to come up with a business idea, you know exactly what he meant. Sitting down with a blank notebook asking yourself, what business should I start, can feel like staring into a black hole. The silence is intimidating. The uncertainty is crushing. And yet, this is where every empire begins. At Harvard Business School, students aren't told to just act or hustle harder. Instead, they're trained to think before they act. They're trained to see problems in the world that most people miss. Because the truth is this: a successful business idea doesn't start with products or logos or investors. It starts with a problem. Why most people fail at finding business ideas. Here's the trap that so many fall into. They rush into business looking for ideas instead of problems. They ask questions like, what kind of shop should I open? What product could make me rich? What's trending right now that I can jump on? And sure, sometimes these questions lead to short-term opportunities, but without the skill of identifying and solving real problems, the business rarely lasts. Think of it like math. In school, you may remember those tricky problems that had more than one solution. Some methods were long and painful, others were elegant and simple. In business, it's the same. There are many ways to solve a problem, but some solutions are clumsy and doomed, while others unlock billion-dollar industries. The key isn't just solving problems, it's solving the right problems. Problems people desperately want solved. Problems they're willing to pay for. So the question becomes, how do we find those problems? The 8 powerful ways to discover problems worth solving. After studying the journeys of countless entrepreneurs, there are 8 main ways people uncover problems that later turn into world-changing businesses. Master these, and you'll start to see opportunities everywhere. First observation, everyday frustrations. The world is full of small irritations we barely notice until someone turns them into billion-dollar businesses. Think of Uber. Garrett Camp, one of its founders, was in Paris struggling to hail a cab on a cold night. That tiny frustration sparked an idea. What if I could tap my phone and a ride came to me? What was once a personal annoyance became the seed of a company now worth tens of billions. Lesson: train yourself to notice when people frown, sigh, complain, or waste time. Every frustration you see is a potential opportunity. 2. Global awareness, trends and shifts. Sometimes the biggest opportunities aren't in small annoyances. They're in massive shifts that shake the whole world. Climate change, aging populations, political shifts, new technologies. These global forces create ripple effects. Entrepreneurs who spot them early ride waves others don't even see. Think of Tesla. Long before electric cars were mainstream, Elon Musk understood the growing pressure for clean energy. That awareness helped him push Tesla into a market most thought impossible. Today, Tesla isn't just a car company, it's a symbol of the future. Lesson: pay attention to news, technology, and cultural movements. The problems of tomorrow are visible today if you know where to look. 3. Personal pain points. Sometimes the best problems to solve are the ones you live through yourself. Take Airbnb. In 2007, Brian Chesky and Joe Gebbia were broke and couldn't pay rent in San Francisco. They had extra space in their apartment, so they rented out air mattresses on the floor to conference attendees. That desperate move became the seed of Airbnb, a company that transformed global travel. The founders didn't guess at someone else's problem. They felt the pain themselves, then realized millions of others would pay for the same solution. Lesson: look at your own struggles. What frustrates you, drains your time, or stresses you out? If you'd pay for a solution, others would too. Fourth, industry experience. Work long enough in any industry, and you'll see inefficiencies outsiders can't imagine. These insider frustrations often turn into billion-dollar opportunities. For example, Elon Musk didn't just dream up reusable rockets out of thin air. By working closely in aerospace, he saw how much money was wasted in single-use rockets. That insider knowledge gave him the confidence to disrupt an industry most thought untouchable. Lesson: don't underestimate the value of experience. Sometimes working a normal job is the perfect training ground for spotting million-dollar problems. Customer feedback. If you already sell something, your customers will tell you, loudly and clearly, what they really want. The question is, are you listening? Take Instagram. The original app, called Bourbon, had dozens of features: check-ins, gaming mechanics, messaging. But users didn't care. They only loved the photo sharing part. The founders stripped everything else away, focused on photos, and the rest is history. Lesson: feedback is free gold. Complaints, reviews, suggestions, they're not noise, they're the roadmap to your next great idea. 6. Data and research. Sometimes numbers speak louder than people. Reports, surveys, and studies can reveal hidden opportunities before the market even notices. Look at the explosion of fitness apps. Long before they became popular, researchers were warning about rising obesity rates and the growth of smartphone usage. The data was there. The entrepreneurs who listened built billion-dollar companies. Lesson: pay attention to statistics. They don't just describe the present, they predict the future. 7. Cross-pollination, mixing ideas across fields. Innovation often happens at the intersection of industries. Think of subscriptions. For decades, magazines ran on monthly subscription models. Then Netflix borrowed the idea for movies. Today, we subscribe to music, food boxes, software, even cars. Cross-pollination is about asking, what works well in one industry that hasn't been applied to another yet? Lesson: don't just look at your own field. Borrow ideas from unrelated industries. You might discover the next breakthrough. 8. Future forecasting. Some problems don't exist yet, but they will. Visionary entrepreneurs anticipate needs before the world even realizes them. Take Amazon Web Services, AWS. When Amazon launched its cloud computing division, most people didn't even understand what the cloud was. But Jeff Bezos anticipated the explosion of digital businesses needing servers. Today, AWS generates billions annually and powers much of the internet. Lesson: ask yourself, what will people desperately need in 5 or 10 years? If you can answer, you'll be ahead of the curve. The emotional side of problem finding. Let's pause here, because while these 8 strategies sound logical, the truth is, finding a problem isn't just logic, it's emotional. It's about frustration, anger, fear, desire, hope. Behind every great business is a human story. Someone was angry they couldn't find a cab. Someone was scared they'd lose their home to unpaid rent. Someone was hopeful the world could move beyond fossil fuels. That's why thinking is so hard, as Henry Ford said. It requires not just logic, but empathy. It requires putting yourself in someone else's shoes and feeling their pain deeply enough to want to fix it. The big mistake to avoid. Here's the danger: chasing problems no one cares about. A problem only matters if people are willing to pay for the solution. You can spend years perfecting something brilliant, but if no one values it, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. That's why every entrepreneur must balance creativity with reality. Ask yourself, is this problem painful enough that people will pay to solve it? Is my solution easier, faster, or cheaper than what exists? Is the market big enough to sustain my idea? Closing thoughts. Finding a successful business idea isn't about luck or random inspiration. It's about training your mind to see what others overlook. It's about observing frustrations, sensing global shifts, feeling personal pain points, leveraging industry experience, listening to customers, studying data, borrowing from other industries, and forecasting the future. If you master these 8 lenses, the world will no longer look the same to you. Everywhere you go, you'll see problems. And behind each problem, you'll see possibility. Because the greatest businesses don't sell products. They don't even sell services. They sell solutions to human problems. And if you can learn to find the right problems, you'll never run out of successful business ideas. Up to this point, we've uncovered the 8 powerful ways to discover problems worth solving. But here's the truth. Problems don't exist in a vacuum. They live inside the beating heart of the economy. And the economy, no matter how complex it looks, is held together by 10 great pillars. The 10 categories of business that silently shape the world you live in. Every dollar you spend, every product you use, every company you admire, whether it's Tesla, Apple, Amazon, or the small family diner down the street, fits into one of these 10 categories. They are the bones of civilization, the foundation on which nations rise or crumble, and hidden deep inside each category are cracks, flaws, inefficiencies, broken systems that most people walk past every day without ever noticing. But you're not most people. You now hold a lens, a way of thinking, that the average person doesn't. By applying the 8 methods you've already mastered, you can shine a light on those cracks. You can find opportunities where others only see walls. You can spot doors where the rest of the world only sees barriers. And here's the most important part. Once you learn to connect the 8 ways to find problems worth solving with the 10 categories, your imagination will never run dry. You will no longer be searching desperately for business ideas. Ideas will chase you. They will appear while you're walking in the street, scrolling through the news, or listening to someone complain about their daily frustrations, because you'll know exactly where to look. At Harvard, students aren't applauded for safe ideas. They're pushed to think critically, to ask what's broken, what's missing, what's possible. That's the standard you're stepping into. Some of the problems you identify may sound ridiculous. Others may seem impossible to solve. But history has proven that the world changes not because of those who laughed at impossible ideas, but because of those bold enough to act on them. So here's the challenge. As we enter these 10 categories that hold up the global economy, don't read this passively. Grab a notebook. Let your imagination run loose. Apply the 8 tools you've learned and hunt for the flaws others ignore. Because within these 10 pillars lies the map, not just to wealth, but to influence, to legacy, and to reshaping the future itself. While most of the economy can be neatly understood through the 10 main pillars, it's important to remember that the world doesn't stop there. As you sharpen your ability to see patterns, you'll begin to notice that new categories emerge, old ones evolve, and some even blend together. Think about industries like space exploration, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and biotech. They don't quite fit into the traditional 9, yet they are rewriting the future. But here's the key. Before you chase the edges, you must master the foundation. The 10 main categories are the bedrock of the global economy. They are where the vast majority of wealth, opportunity, and innovation still flow today. By learning to spot problems within these pillars, you'll not only find endless business opportunities, but you'll also build the mental discipline to recognize new categories as they emerge. In other words, the 10 are your compass. Once you know how to navigate them, you'll never be lost, no matter how much the world changes. 1. Agriculture and natural resources. This is where humanity began. Farming, fishing, forestry, mining. The industries that feed us and supply the raw materials for everything else. No matter how advanced society becomes, it still leans on the land. 2. Manufacturing and industrial production, where raw resources are transformed into goods, cars, electronics, clothing, machines. It's the world of factories, assembly lines, and global supply chains. Without it, progress would remain only an idea. 3. Energy and utilities. The lifeblood of every nation. Oil, gas, electricity, water, renewables. Energy doesn't just power homes and cities, it powers entire civilizations. 4. Construction and real estate. The builders of society. Homes, skyscrapers, roads, bridges, entire cities. Real estate and infrastructure determine not just where people live, but how wealth is stored and multiplied. 5. Retail and consumer goods. The direct connection between business and everyday life, from supermarkets and fashion to Amazon and Apple. This category doesn't just sell products, it shapes culture and daily habits. 6. Transportation and logistics. The circulatory system of the economy. Ships, trucks, planes, trains, and now ride-sharing and drone delivery. This is how ideas, people, and goods move across the globe. 7. Finance and insurance. The bloodstream of capital. Banks, investments, credit, insurance. The systems that allow risk-taking, protect against disaster, and decide who gets to grow and who gets left behind. 8. Healthcare and life sciences. The industry that touches every life. Hospitals, pharmaceuticals, biotechnology, wellness. This is where science meets humanity's oldest struggle, survival. 9. Technology and communications, the newest giant. Software, AI, telecommunications, entertainment, media, and digital platforms. This category doesn't just create new industries, it reinvents the old ones. 10. Education and training, the shaper of minds. Schools, universities, online courses, training systems. Education doesn't just build workers, it builds visionaries. It decides who understands the future and who gets left behind. How entrepreneurs can find unlimited ideas. If you master the 8 ways of spotting problems and apply them across the 10 categories of business, you'll never run out of ideas. Here's how billionaires have done it. 1. Agriculture and natural resources. From farming to mining, these are humanity's oldest industries, but still full of problems. Way used, observation and data. Example, Harry Stein, America's richest farmer, noticed inefficiencies in soybean seeds. By using data and research, he developed high-yield genetics that revolutionized agriculture. Lesson, even ancient industries evolve when someone pays attention to science, waste, and inefficiency. Second, manufacturing and industrial production. Transforming raw materials into goods is where massive fortunes are built. Way used, industry experience. Example, Amancio Ortega, founder of Zara, saw firsthand how slow fashion manufacturing was. He created fast fashion with short production cycles, dominating global clothing retail. Lesson, experience inside a factory can reveal inefficiencies that outsiders overlook. 3. Energy and utilities. No nation or industry runs without energy. Way used, global awareness and future forecasting. Example, Elon Musk with Tesla and Solar City. He saw the global shift toward renewable energy long before others and built companies positioned at the front of the clean energy revolution. Lesson, follow global movements like climate change and ask, what will people need 20 years from now? 4. Construction and real estate, where people live, work, and invest their money. Way used, personal pain point and observation. Example, Donald Bren, America's richest real estate developer, realized California's growing population desperately needed housing and commercial spaces. By acquiring land and building strategically, he turned empty plots into empires. Lesson, watch where people move. Growth creates demand for homes, offices, and infrastructure. 5. Retail and consumer goods, the most visible category, where culture meets business. Way used, customer feedback and cross-pollination. Example, Jeff Bezos listened to customer demand for variety and speed. He borrowed the concept of online retail, applied logistics, and Amazon became the world's largest store. Lesson, customer complaints, shipping times, product variety. can be your blueprint for billion-dollar solutions. 6. Healthcare and life sciences, the business of survival. Way used, global awareness and data. Example, Li Ka-shing, Hong Kong billionaire, invested early in healthcare startups like stem cell research and pharmaceuticals, seeing demographic shifts like aging populations. Lesson, pay attention to health data. Rising diseases, aging, or pandemics point directly to billion-dollar need. 7. Technology and communications, the fastest growing category in modern history. Way used, cross-pollination and customer feedback. Example, Mark Zuckerberg noticed college students needed a way to connect online. What started as a campus directory grew into Facebook. Later, feedback shaped features like the news feed, Messenger, and Instagram integration. Lesson, new technologies become unstoppable when they solve basic human needs: connection, attention, identity. 8. Education and training. Way used, personal pain point, and future forecasting. Example, Luis von Ahn, co-founder of Duolingo, grew up in Guatemala and saw how expensive language learning was. Most people couldn't afford tools like Rosetta Stone or private tutors. That frustration inspired him to create a free, gamified language learning app accessible to anyone with a phone. By anticipating the global demand for affordable education, Duolingo became the world's most popular language learning platform, with over 80 million monthly active users. Lesson, education is broken everywhere. Whoever makes it more affordable, engaging, and accessible has the power to impact billions of lives and build billion-dollar companies in the process. Entrepreneurs don't need to wait for big ideas. By combining the 8 ways of problem finding with the 10 business categories, you can uncover opportunities in any field. Billionaires didn't get lucky, they trained themselves to spot problems that others ignored. Every industry has gaps. Every problem is a business. Every frustration is a fortune waiting to be made. Now that you understand how to find problems worth solving and how those problems exist across the 10 main industries that govern the economy, it's time to go deeper. Because spotting an opportunity is one thing. Knowing how far you can take it is another. Most entrepreneurs get stuck here. They may create something that works, something that makes money, even something people love. But because they don't understand the different levels of business, they fail to capitalize on success. Their growth stalls, their competitors overtake them, and they leave millions, sometimes billions, on the table. Take the story of McDonald's. In the 1940s, brothers Richard and Maurice McDonald opened a small drive-in restaurant in San Bernardino, California. They created the speedy service system, which streamlined food preparation like an assembly line. Burgers, fries, and milkshakes were served faster than anywhere else. Customers loved it. The restaurant was profitable, efficient, and popular. But here's the problem. The McDonald brothers thought like local businessmen. Their dream was simply to run a successful restaurant in their town, maybe a handful of locations at best. They didn't imagine turning their system into a national or global franchise. Then came Ray Kroc, a struggling milkshake machine salesman. When he visited the McDonald's restaurant and saw their operation, he immediately recognized something the brothers didn't. This wasn't just a good restaurant. It was a scalable system that could be replicated across America and eventually the world. Kroc convinced the brothers to let him franchise the brand. While they were content staying local, he thought bigger. He built an aggressive expansion plan, standardized operations, and pushed McDonald's into markets across the U.S. Within years, it became a national brand. Within decades, it became a global icon. The difference wasn't the food, it was the vision. The McDonald brothers solved a local problem. Ray Kroc saw a global opportunity. The truth is this: business isn't just about solving a problem. It's about understanding scale. And scale happens in 3 levels: local business, national domestic business, international global business. Let's break each one down with real examples so you understand not just how they work, but how to use them to scale your own ideas. 1. Local business. Solving problems in your backyard. Every empire starts small, and almost always it begins locally. A local business serves a specific community, a neighborhood, a city, sometimes a cluster of nearby towns. Restaurants, barber shops, auto repair shops, local real estate agencies, coffee shops, gyms, and small retail stores all fall into this category. Why local business matters. Trust and familiarity. People buy from those they know. In local communities, reputation spreads quickly. A few good reviews can make you. A few bad ones can break you. Direct feedback. You can talk to your customers face to face, observe their behavior, and adjust your product or service instantly. Low barriers to entry. You don't need massive capital or nationwide marketing to get started. You just need to solve a problem in your area. In my next book, Your Small Business Guide, I explain how one can start a profitable local business. Example, Howard Schultz in Starbucks wasn't born as a global brand. It began as a single coffee shop in Seattle in 1971. Schultz saw an opportunity. Americans didn't have a cafe culture like Italy, where coffee was an experience, not just a drink. By testing and refining the model in local stores, he created the blueprint for what would later scale worldwide. The limitation of local. The problem with local businesses is that they often get stuck. Owners make just enough money to survive, but not enough to thrive. Their thinking is limited to my neighborhood instead of my nation or my world. That's where the next level comes in. Second, national domestic business, scaling across a country. When a business expands beyond its hometown and starts serving customers across a state, province, or country, it becomes a national business. This is where things get exciting and also much more competitive. Why national business matters. Bigger market size, you're no longer limited to a few thousand potential customers. You can now target millions. Brand recognition. When people in different cities recognize your name, your brand gains credibility and authority. Economies of scale. With more customers, you can produce at lower costs, negotiate better supplier deals, and build infrastructure that strengthens your market position. Example, Walmart. Sam Walton started Walmart in 1962 with a single discount store in Rogers, Arkansas. His model was simple: sell at the lowest possible price and make money on volume. That worked locally, but Walton understood that the real money was in scale. He expanded across multiple states, and by the time Walmart went national, it was unstoppable. How entrepreneurs reach the national level. Franchising. McDonald's used this strategy brilliantly, allowing local operators to run stores under a national brand. Distribution partnerships. A local food company might partner with national grocery chains to get shelf space across the country. E-commerce and advertising. The internet has made it possible for even small businesses to reach a national audience if they know how to advertise effectively. The limitation of national. The national stage is powerful, but it's still bounded by borders. You're playing in one economy, under one set of regulations, and competing with others who've mastered the same game. To truly dominate, you have to go global. 3. International, global business, playing on the world stage. A global business doesn't just serve one country, it serves the world. This is the highest level of scale, and it's where billionaires are made. Global businesses aren't just companies. They're systems that shape culture, politics, and daily life across nations. Why global business matters. Massive market size, billions of potential customers, not just millions. Diversification. If one economy crashes, others can keep you afloat. Cultural power. Global brands influence fashion, technology, language, and even social values. Example, Apple started in a garage in California, serving a niche group of computer enthusiasts. Today, it's one of the most valuable companies on Earth. Its products are used in every corner of the globe. The iPhone isn't just a phone, it's a cultural icon, symbolizing status, design, and innovation across continents. Example, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola didn't stop at being America's soda. It became the world's soda. Through relentless global marketing, distribution deals, and cultural branding, Coke became a universal product, recognized in villages, towns, and cities everywhere. How businesses go global. Exporting products. selling goods internationally through distributors or online. Global supply chains, manufacturing in one country, assembling in another, and selling worldwide. Localization, adapting to local cultures. McDonald's sells McSpicy paneer in India and teriyaki burgers in Japan. Technology and digital platforms, companies like Facebook and Google, scale globally almost instantly thanks to the internet. Connecting the levels. From local to global. Here's the key insight. You don't start global. You grow into it. Every business, no matter how big, started small. Amazon was once just an online bookstore run out of Jeff Bezos's garage. McDonald's was once a single burger stand. Walmart was once a discount shop in rural Arkansas. The secret is thinking about scale from the beginning. When you understand the three levels, local, national, international, you stop seeing your business as small and start seeing it as a potential empire. Why most entrepreneurs fail to scale? Most entrepreneurs fail because they don't think beyond the first level. The local trap. They're satisfied with being the best shop in town but never build systems that could scale. The national ceiling. They reach a point where they're recognized nationwide but fail to adapt their product to new markets. The global gap. They never figure out how to translate their brand across cultures. Meanwhile, the billionaires of the world, Bezos, Musk, Gates, Zuckerberg, understood scale from day one. How to use the 8 ways of problem finding at each level. Now let's connect this back to the 8 ways of finding problems worth solving. Local, observation and personal pain points, seeing frustrations in your neighborhood. National, customer, feedback, and industry experience, listening to patterns across larger audiences. Global, global awareness, data, cross-pollination, and future forecasting. Spotting shifts that affect billions. This is why local businesses often focus on immediate needs, coffee shops, gyms, services. National businesses refine scalability and brand. Global businesses anticipate human shifts, technology, culture, and demographics. Final takeaway. Every problem you see can be solved at 3 levels. At the local level, you help your community. At the national level, you scale across your country. At the global level, you change the world. The difference isn't the problem you solve, it's the scale at which you solve it. That's why some entrepreneurs remain small, while others build empires. If you understand the 10 industries, master the 8 ways of spotting problems, and apply them across the 3 levels of business, you will never run out of ideas. More importantly, you'll know how to scale those ideas into businesses that dominate markets and build generational wealth. Because business isn't just about making money today, it's about creating a system that grows beyond you, beyond your city, beyond your country, and maybe beyond your lifetime. Let's look at a short story of 3 individuals who all wanted to start the same business. Teaching people how to speak different languages. Their names are Tom, Peter, and John. Their paths will show you exactly how thinking differently determines the size of your success. Tom, the local business thinker. Tom loved languages. He worked as a language teacher at a university, and on the side, he ran a small tutoring business from home. He offered lessons in Spanish, French, and Dutch to students in his city. Tom's business was local. He could only reach the people around him. There was nothing wrong with Tom's dream. He earned a decent living, and his students respected him. But Tom's thinking was limited. His business relied solely on his time, his energy, and his personal presence. If Tom got sick, his business paused. If his students graduated and left town, his income dropped. Tom's business was a local service business, serving a community that was small and temporary. Could Tom become wealthy this way? Perhaps he could live comfortably, but the chances of him ever becoming a millionaire were slim. Tom's level of thinking capped his growth. Peter, the national business thinker. Now let's look at Peter. Peter had the same goal: teach people how to speak new languages. But unlike Tom, Peter thought bigger. Instead of just tutoring from home, Peter created a language institution. He began advertising across the country. As more students enrolled, Peter expanded. He hired other teachers who spoke different languages and paid them a percentage of the tuition. Soon, Peter realized he could franchise his institution, opening branches in different cities. Peter wasn't tied down to his own time like Tom. Even when he wasn't personally teaching, his institution was making money. His brand grew nationally and so did his income. Peter's thinking was on the national business level. He built a scalable model and could enjoy financial success that Tom could only dream of. But Peter had a limit too. His business still required physical buildings, staff, and management. His growth was tied to the challenges of running a nationwide chain. Peter might become a multimillionaire, but reaching billionaire status would be unlikely without an even bigger leap in thinking. John, the global innovator. Finally, there's John. John also wanted to start a business teaching languages, but he approached the idea differently. John had studied the 8 powerful ways to find problems worth solving: observation, global awareness and trend shifting, personal pain points, industry experience, customer feedback, data and research, cross-pollination, future forecasting. Armed with this mindset, John analyzed the existing language learning industry. He observed that humans have a natural desire to make things easier. He asked himself, how can I make learning a new language simpler and more enjoyable? From cross-pollination, he noticed the power of social connection. Facebook had become a multi-billion-dollar company because people loved connecting with each other. What if language learning could also foster social interaction? From personal pain points and industry research, he saw that hiring tutors or attending institutions was expensive and inconvenient. Many people wanted to learn languages but couldn't afford the time or cost. The more John thought, the more problems he uncovered. Language learning was too expensive. It was too time-consuming. It lacked fun and social interaction. It wasn't accessible globally. John realized that if he could solve these problems, his business could dominate the industry. So he built a language learning app. Unlike Tom and Peter, John didn't rely on physical classrooms. His app allowed anyone, anywhere in the world, to learn a language from their phone. It was cheaper, easier, and more social. People in America could use it to learn Chinese. People in China could use it to learn English. His potential market was the entire world. And because John's business was digital, it could scale infinitely. Whether 1,000 people or 10 million people used his app, the system remained the same. His costs barely increased, but his revenue exploded. John was thinking on a global, innovative level. This is how billionaires are made. Lessons from Tom, Peter, and John. The story of these 3 men teaches us a powerful truth. Local thinking. Tom, John, limits wealth to survival or comfort. National thinking. Peter, creates significant success, maybe millions. Global thinking. John equals creates disruption, scalability, and the potential for billions. The same idea, teaching languages, produced 3 completely different outcomes depending on how the individual thought about the business. Now that you've learned how to find problems worth solving and how to identify the 10 main industries that control the economy, the different levels of a business, it's time to focus on the heart of any business, the customer. Without customers, there is no business. It doesn't matter if you have the greatest product in the world, the most brilliant marketing strategy, or the most talented team. If no one is willing to exchange their money for what you offer, your business will collapse. But here's the surprising truth. It's not just about getting customers, it's about attracting the right kind of customers. The type of customers you bring into your business will determine whether your company grows, struggles, or dies. Too often, entrepreneurs believe that having a flood of customers guarantees success. But this is a dangerous half-truth. The reality is that not all customers are created equal. Some will buy from you once and never return. Others will come back month after month, year after year, becoming the foundation of your success. In this chapter, we will explore the different types of customers, why understanding them is critical, and how you can design your business in a way that maximizes the long-term value of every person who walks through your door. We are all customers. Before we talk about customer categories, let's make one thing clear. We are all customers in life. Every single one of us spends money. And depending on what we buy, when we buy it, and why we buy it, we fall into certain customer types. Take this simple example. Imagine it's the middle of winter. You realize you don't own a proper jacket and the cold is unbearable. Out of necessity, you walk into a store and buy a thick, insulated coat. You didn't buy it because of brand loyalty. You didn't buy it because you enjoy shopping for jackets. You bought it because you needed it at that specific time. In this case, you are a short-term or transactional customer. You solved your immediate problem, and now it may take years before you buy another winter jacket. Now let's shift to another example. Every month you go grocery shopping, and without fail, you always place a case of hint water into your cart because you love the subtle flavored water. It's not just a one-time thing. You buy it regularly without even thinking. In this case, you are a long-term customer. You've formed a habit, a preference, and even a sense of loyalty to that product. This distinction may sound simple, but it's actually one of the most powerful principles in business: the difference between short-term and long-term customers. The two main types of customers. At the highest level, all customers fall into two categories: short-term customers, transactional customers; long-term customers, short relational customers. Let's break them down in detail. 1. Short-term customers. A short-term customer is someone who buys from you once or occasionally to solve a problem they're experiencing right now. Their purchase is often seasonal, like a winter jacket or a Halloween costume; situational, like a one-time car repair or wedding dress; transactional, like buying a bottle of water from a gas station while traveling. These customers are valuable, but only in the moment. The problem with relying heavily on short-term customers is that they don't create stability. You constantly have to chase new buyers, run new ads, or hope the season brings them back. For example, think about tourist-driven businesses. A souvenir shop in Paris thrives when tourists pour into the city, but the same shop may struggle during off-seasons. These businesses are tied to short-term customers who come once, make a purchase, and disappear. The risk of only having short-term customers. If your business model depends solely on short-term customers, you face a constant uphill battle. Every month you're starting from scratch, trying to replace the old buyers with new ones. This leads to high marketing costs because you need to keep attracting new people; unpredictable cash flow. Some months are great, others are slow; limited brand loyalty. People don't remember you after the purchase. This is why businesses built only on short-term customers often burn out. 2. Long-term customers. On the other hand, long-term customers are the holy grail of business. These are people who come back again and again because they have formed a habit, an emotional connection, or a genuine need for your product or service over time. A long-term customer doesn't just buy your product once. They keep coming back because they trust your brand. They prefer your product over alternatives. Your product or service solves an ongoing problem for them. You've integrated into their lifestyle or routine. Think about companies like Netflix, Spotify, or Amazon Prime. Their entire business models are designed to cultivate long-term customers. Once you subscribe, you're hooked into a system of ongoing value, and you rarely cancel. Why long-term customers matter. Long-term customers are powerful because they give your business recurring revenue, steady, predictable income every month or year; higher lifetime value, LTV. They spend more over their entire relationship with you; free marketing, loyal customers recommend you to friends and family; resilience in tough times. Your loyal base keeps you alive when new customers are harder to attract. For example, imagine two businesses: a wedding planner, who only books clients once in their lives; a fitness gym, where members pay monthly for years. Both can be profitable, but the gym has a stronger foundation because of long-term customers. The spectrum. Not all products are equal. Of course, not every product is naturally suited for long-term customers. Some industries are inherently transactional, but here's where smart entrepreneurs thrive. They turn short-term customers into long-term ones. Take the winter jacket company example. At first glance, you'd think this is a one-time purchase. But what if the company releases a new seasonal collection every year, expands into hats, gloves, scarves, boots, offers loyalty programs or memberships where customers get early access to new arrivals. Suddenly, what looked like a one-time product turns into a long-term customer relationship. This is why companies like Apple are so powerful. They don't just sell you one iPhone. They sell you into an ecosystem, AirPods, Apple Watch, iCloud, Apple Music, that keeps you buying year after year. The psychology of customer loyalty. Long-term customers don't just appear, they are created. To cultivate them, you need to understand human psychology. Habit formation. Customers stick with what's familiar. If you make it easy and consistent, they won't want to switch. Example. People who use Starbucks as their daily coffee stop rarely switch brands. Trust and reliability. People buy from brands they trust. Deliver quality every time, and you earn loyalty. Example, Amazon built loyalty through fast, reliable delivery. Emotional connection. When customers feel understood, they buy with their hearts, not just their wallets. Example, Nike doesn't just sell shoes, it sells motivation and identity. Switching costs. Make it inconvenient for people to leave. Example, Spotify playlists are hard to abandon, even if another service is cheaper. Strategies to build long-term customers. Here are proven ways to shift your business from chasing short-term wins to cultivating long-term relationships. Subscription models. Offer memberships or recurring billing. Netflix, Dollar Shave Club. Loyalty programs. Reward repeat customers. Starbucks rewards, airline miles. Upselling and cross-selling. Expand product lines so customers always find something new. Apple ecosystem. Customer service excellence. Treat people so well they feel guilty leaving. Zappos became famous for this. Community building. Turn your customers into a tribe. Harley-Davidson owners don't just ride, they belong to a culture. The balance short-term versus long-term. Here's the truth. Your business will always have both types of customers. Some people will buy once and never return. Others will stay for years. The real skill of an entrepreneur is learning to maximize the number of long-term customers while still capturing short-term ones for growth. Think of it like a funnel. Short-term customers are the entry point. Long-term customers are the foundation of profit. If you design your business well, some of those short-term customers will naturally evolve into long-term ones. Final thoughts. Every great entrepreneur understands that customers are not just numbers. They are living, breathing people with habits, emotions, and desires. The difference between a business that struggles and one that thrives is often how well it understands the type of customers it attracts. Short-term customers give you quick wins, but they're unreliable. Long-term customers give you stability, growth, and wealth. Your mission is to build a business that doesn't just chase transactions, but cultivates relationships. Because at the end of the day, businesses don't grow because of what they sell. They grow because of the customers who believe in them, return to them, and spread the word about them. When you master the art of turning one-time buyers into lifelong customers, you don't just build a business, you build an empire. Why billionaires never stop working? Most people dream of making enough money to finally retire. But here's the strange thing, billionaires almost never do. Elon Musk could have retired in 2002 after selling PayPal for $180 million. That money was enough to live in luxury for the rest of his life. But instead, he risked it all building Tesla and SpaceX. Jeff Bezos could have cashed out in the 1990s when Amazon was still just an online bookstore. Bill Gates could have stepped away from Microsoft in his 30s and enjoyed billions. Warren Buffett could have stopped investing decades ago and still been wealthier than kings, yet none of them stopped. Why? Because billionaires think differently. 1. Vision over comfort. For most people, money is about freedom from work. For billionaires, money is a tool to chase missions bigger than themselves. Musk isn't after yachts, he's after Mars. Bezos didn't want to just sell books, he wanted to build the everything store. 2. They never settle. Average people stop when life is good enough. Billionaires never do. Gates wanted a computer in every home. Buffett, even in his 90s, still spends hours reading and making deals, not because he needs more money, but because he loves mastery. Third, learning equals earning. Bill Gates reads 50 books a year. Warren Buffett reads hundreds of pages daily. Musk taught himself rocket science. Billionaires know one truth: the more you learn, the more you earn. 4. Legacy, not luxury. Luxury is easy to buy. Legacy is not. Steve Jobs wanted to put a dent in the universe. Bezos invests in projects like a 10,000-year clock in space exploration. They don't stop because they want their work to outlive them. Your takeaway: if you've made it this far, it means you're not satisfied with average either. That curiosity, that hunger to keep learning, is the same spark that fuels billionaires. Success doesn't come from luck. It comes from never settling, never stopping, and always learning. Most people say, if I had $1 billion, I'd quit working. That's why they'll never become billionaires. The wealthiest keep going not because they need to, but because they want to. And if you want to keep growing, learning, and building wealth, this is just the beginning. On this channel, we uncover more about business, investing, and wealth creation. The kind of knowledge most people never learn, but billionaires live by. So I don't ask for much. Subscribe, leave a like, and comment what you learned from this audiobook. Because if you're still hungry for more, that's the clearest sign you're on the right path to success.